Am I the asshole for not adjusting our China trip to my brother-in-law's cardiovascular limits? This one's tearing me apart. What's your gut telling you? Hit me in the comments with your advice or a story that hits close to home. Throwaway account. I, 39, male, recently went to China with my sister, 36, female. Her husband, we will call him Doug, 40, male. Their son, 12, my wife, and our 2 children, 11, 9. My sister and I were born in China, but our family immigrated to Dallas when we were young. She stayed there, got married, and had her son, while I settled in the Pacific Northwest with my wife and 2 energetic children of our own. Growing up, our parents emphasized healthy eating and staying active. My sister and I still live that way and pass it on to our children. Doug, however, is very American in his lifestyle. He grew up on ultra-processed foods. Fruit snacks were considered fruit, and he will insist on starting up his Grand Wagoneer for any distance more than 3 blocks. He is not immobile like those featured on certain television shows, but he is definitely not built for long treks. Their son just finished 7th grade and loved the ancient China unit, especially the terracotta warriors. My sister thought this was the perfect time for him, being half Chinese, to visit his ancestral homeland. I was already planning a trip to Chongqing to see family, so we added my sister's family to the itinerary and expanded it to include places like Beijing, Xi'an, and Nanjing to match what their son had learned in school. I handled most of the planning and tried to hint that a lot of walking would be involved, especially since many Chinese cities have vast transit systems and are less car-dependent. Doug did not take it seriously. Once we arrived, it was clear he could not keep up when we explored the landmarks. My sister often stayed behind with him, while my wife and I continued with the children to ensure we kept up with our tour groups. It all came to a head at our final stop, my grandmother's hometown near Chongqing. This place is basically vertical, stairs and steep slopes everywhere. On a particularly hot, humid day, I took the children to the local market via a park our family helped build. Doug insisted on coming, saying he did not want to sit around all day. I warned it was a long walk, but he insisted. Half a mile in, he was struggling. I slowed down, but the children kept running ahead. After we got through the park, I convinced him to take a taxi back while I continued to the market with the children. When we returned, Doug was sulking, and my sister was upset. She said I was inconsiderate for not just taking a taxi to the market. I explained that would have taken longer given the layout, and the children would not have seen the park that was part of our family history. She said she had not realized how physically demanding the trip would be since she let me handle most of the planning and I did not consider Doug's limits. I agree I could have been more considerate of Doug's cardiovascular endurance, but not at the expense of my nephew and children experiencing their cultural landmarks, especially since it was my nephew's first time in his homeland and my children's first time in Xi'an and Beijing. They all said they had an amazing and educational experience. So, am I the asshole? Commenter 1. Not the asshole. This was an expensive trip, once in a lifetime for most people who could even consider a trip like this, and you wanted everyone, especially the children, to get the most out of it. You warned him about the walking. I will say you really should not hint at these things, though. Be direct in the future. Just so you know, there is going to be a lot of long-distance walking on this trip, so you might want to start practicing now. And he did not complain. He is an adult. He can take a taxi to get around if he wants to. He knows that he is the one with physical limitations, and he should not expect his own limitations to get in the way of everyone else's enjoyment. What he should have said was, "Hey, thank you so much for planning this amazing trip. I know the children will remember this trip forever. I should have paid more attention when you warned me it would be physically demanding. I'm sorry if I held you all back at all. This has been a real wake-up call for me, and I will plan to get into shape as soon as we get back to the United States, so I can keep up with you all in the future. Also, I feel like it was your sister's responsibility to advocate for her husband and check the plan and see where she could suggest adjustments or make alternative plans for her and her husband and see if you did not mind taking the children for the main plans. I feel like you and your wife were considerate enough to be like, okay, all children with us. You do not live with your brother-in-law. Why should you be considerate of your brother-in-law's limitations? This to me means they were not curious about the itinerary at all, Did no research or blog reading about these places at all. It is your sister and brother-in-law's own fault. Exactly, your sister-in-law and her husband could have chosen to make their own plans and meet up with the rest of the group at places in order to have things fit within his abilities. I went to Portugal with my elderly mother, and some of those cities required a lot of stairs. There were a few sites where she stayed with her equally elderly friend, and they took in just the gardens while I ran around the rest of the castle to see everything. Then we would meet back up at the bus or taxi. Nobody expected the other to adapt 100%. Commenter 2. Everyone sucks here. You tried to hint that a lot of walking would be involved. More than a hint was needed. What you should have done is spelled it all out for him like you just did after the fact, for us. Then decisions could have been made based on full information. And in your defense, he could have taken the hints and made decisions accordingly too. I absolutely agree. However, there seems to be a difference in culture. With Chinese families, they will be a lot more straightforward when calling this stuff out. I have been straight up called fatty, in a loving way, by aunties and uncles back when I was chubbier in middle school. And if Doug were Chinese, I would have felt much more comfortable spelling things out. However, I have found with our Caucasian side of the family, we need to be a little more careful. And to my fault, I kind of tiptoed around the bush in fear of accidentally calling a spade, and ultimately it backfired spectacularly. Commenter 2 continued, you do not have to call your brother-in-law fat to get the point across. Exactly. Stamina and strength are more of a problem than weight. An accurate description along the lines of, there will be a lot of walking and a lot of stairs every day, for example, here is our plan for Tuesday, would have given him a better idea of how things would go. And does the original poster even know if he tried to prepare ahead or not? I recently went on a trip that I knew would require a lot of walking and such, and I did prepare ahead in order to better be able to keep up. Until the week before the trip, I caught some illness that knocked me down hard and sapped all the stamina I had built up. And then on the trip, I injured a knee. I kept up, but barely, and I did have to occasionally ask for people to please slow down for just a moment, apologizing profusely the whole time because I hate holding people up. Also, I am just a slow walker. I have short legs. I can walk all day at my own pace, but if I have to keep up with some speed demon, I am in pain and struggling very quickly. It sucks. I am working on it. I agree that everyone sucks here. He probably should have prepared a little more. The original poster should probably have given him more explicit warnings, and not in a you are a fat American sort of way, and his sister should have also encouraged him to prepare more and not blamed the original poster about something that sounds like it was not really much of a problem in the end. Commenter 3. Your preamble about treating your body well and valuing that makes me feel like you are judging your brother-in-law for his health. You do not need to say, hey fatty, you cannot keep up with the trip. You can give a description of the amount of physical activity involved and let him make the decision. Communicating how strenuous something is does not need to include a commentary on someone's weight or ability. You are right. I wrote this post while still coming off of a slightly angry high since my sister had been blasting our family WeChat groups. Looking back and reading it, I definitely come across as more judgmental than I should be. I did want to include that I mentioned all the spots we would be hitting and that they would include a few miles of walking each, but Am I the Asshole has a 3,000 character limit, so I shortened it down to hinting. Commenter 3 continued, did you say how many miles or were you vague? 2 miles is very different from 4 miles. And was there mention of hills, lots of stairs, etc.? That also plays a role. During the planning phase, I shared the itinerary of the various landmarks we were going to visit, the size of some of the larger ones, and a mention that most only offer walking tours. I will be honest in that I myself was not 100% sure exactly how many miles we would be walking in a single day, with places like the Great Wall and the grounds of the Terracotta Warriors, but I assumed it would be a lot. However, you are probably right in that I should have been more straightforward with the warnings or done more research on it. Commenter 4. You are the asshole a bit. You clearly dislike Doug and are looking for us to validate your dislike of your fat, lazy, middle American, red state, suburbanite brother-in-law. You had the right to plan the trip you wanted. And it seems like you very thoughtfully planned a trip. It is very hard to plan a big family vacation and keep everyone happy. But clearly, Doug overestimated his own fitness or did not have a clear understanding of what fitness would be required, you say you hinted. Did you actually explicitly say during the planning? But regardless, that part is at least partially on him, and perhaps your sister to a lesser extent. But once on the trip, it is not like Doug willfully decided to walk behind everyone else to annoy you. He physically could not keep up with you. He was trudging behind the group, watching everyone have fun. And that sucks. And instead of responding with empathy, you very obviously resent him for it. It is clear that your accommodations for Doug were basically, we are doing this. You can come if you can keep up. And sometimes with a big group or an organized tour, that is all you can do, but you could at least be kind about it. It is very clear that you thought Doug deserved to have a miserable time as punishment for his poor health habits. Unlike you, who is perfectly healthy and always will be. As much as you claim that everyone else had an amazing time, it is hard to imagine that your nephew's experience was not impacted by his dad being exhausted and in pain the entire time, or that your sister enjoyed trailing behind the rest of the group with her husband. Would it really have ruined the trip to walk a bit less or take a few more taxis? Is it possible that Doug is not the only person who would have enjoyed a few more sit-downs? I am a 30,000 steps per day traveler, but I recognize that most people do enjoy relaxing on vacation. Too long. Did not read. Doug did not deserve to have a whole trip designed around his fitness levels, but he did deserve to be treated with empathy. Commenter 5. Not the asshole. I went to Italy with family. We visited Mount Etna. My sisters and brother-in-law decided to climb further up the volcano, and I did not want that level of exertion. Honestly, it is debatable if I could have. So up they went while I stayed at the cafe/store and had a local beer and cannoli. I was not going to stop them from going and miss the opportunity. I also exercised and dieted and lost 60 pounds in anticipation of this trip so that I could sightsee and keep up.